Hello, lovely people, and welcome back as we explore another first chapter. Today, we'll be looking at Watcher of the Damned by R.H. Snow. And this one I'll start by let's have the author describe her book for us. Transmutation Texas is the first in the Watcher of the Damned series, encapsulating the struggle of human life after the biological apocalypse. Some have argued that the cultural fascination with mutants and the apocalypse is indicative of an overall fear of globalization. The fear is not that we could become an animal with lesser humanity, rather that we already are. With this description going into this book was like, okay, let's see what happens here. Watcher of the Damned is essentially the story of the Watcher. That's the name of our main character, who, as indicated in short blurb, along with everyone else on Earth, well, at least in Texas, from what we know from the story, was affected by a biological apocalypse. Who knows what happened? Something happened. People got changed. Again, I'll let you all read to see what changes took place. But of course, as with apocalyptic stories, civilization as we know it is wiped out and completely changed. In this context, technology is next to non-existent, and it's just people grouping together or on their own trying to survive. The first thing that stood out for me with this book is, for me at least, it is a slow burn. For the first few pages, what we have is the Watcher essentially sitting in a bar, looking out the window. Not out the window, out the door, just looking out. And we get a stream of consciousness, him thinking back on the time before, thinking about his present condition, what got him there, and just ruminating. And this goes on for the first few pages. Kind of caught me a bit off. Slow burns for me can be a bit, I find a bit, let's just say this is one slow burn that is well done. It's not just there plodding along, but it actually advances the story. You learn about our character, we learn about the world. So that much I can appreciate, even though it goes slowly and not much is happening through those first few pages. Part of the slowness that I can appreciate is that things are described in great detail. It is quite easy to put visuals to how people look, what the world looks like, how things in the world look, what they even possibly feel like, and that is something really appreciated. When there are action sequences, it is easy enough to follow along with what is happening because, again, the author takes great pains in giving details in every move and every action taken, which I really do appreciate because usually for me, if it's not a graphic novel or a comic, when I read, my imagination is going along with it. So I'm trying to picture what is happening. So such details do help. I had to, though, well, I guess the thing is, at first, the slowness kind of got to me, and I put the book aside. But then came back to it and started reading again, and the story started to pick up for me. One thing, though, I think I may have to go back and reread this first section. By the way, this book doesn't necessarily so much have chapters as it has sections. Let me show you here. Let's go back. Oops, that's the cover. Let's see. Oh, whoops. Here we are. So it's not so much chapters as sections 1, 2, 3, 4. And each of these sections spans quite a few pages. I think at the end of part 1, I was up to page 61 or page 60, somewhere thereabout. So each of these sections do cover quite a lot. Another thing, sorry, I keep saying one thing, I need to drop that. Another thing of note is, again, for me, I find it a slow burn, but where action comes in, it serves to move the story forward. That makes sense, right? Yes, it would move the story forward. But the action is described and conveyed in a pleasing enough manner. It's not a slow plodding, one opponent monologuing and looking over the other, but where action needs to take place, quick action, a shot fired, a punch thrown, it takes place and then the story goes back to a more relaxed pace. Now, I had mentioned a bit earlier that I may need to go back and reread this first section. Really, I'd want to do that because having gone through and meeting the characters we meet, especially the Watcher himself, the main character, I wasn't sure if he was the kind of character I would like or would connect with. So learning about his character, reading about his character, I didn't find very enjoying. I didn't enjoy that very much. Yeah, I guess, okay, let's use enjoy for now. But I came across yesterday, probably, or day before, watching a video from another person I follow who talks about books. She mentioned the whole thing of characters and whether or not someone is a likable person or a likable character. And that got me thinking that possibly the ambivalence I felt towards the Watcher was me trying to decide, do I like this guy or not? And the thing about it is, a character, a hero even, or a villain, does not have to be likable for it to be a good story. And in thinking through with the whole thing, it's like, okay, the Watcher is a guy that has likable aspects and has aspects you don't like. And that is with any person you meet in life. So I would say good on Arit Snow. She writes characters that have some gravitas. Because at least from what I know so far, having only read the first part, the Watcher has aspects to him that I'll say, okay, I can see with that. But then there are other things like, dude, why would you do that? Why would you make that kind of decision? That makes no sense. Right? So, the fact, having thought that through, I would want to now go back, reread this section with that thought that I do not have to like this person. I don't have to like this guy. But I am learning, and that's the important part, learning about this person, learn about the other characters, how he interacts with them, they with him, why they do certain things. And even if I read something, a particular action that whatever character may take, and I may think to myself, that is just a dumb thing to do, it doesn't matter. The fact is we're learning about another person, and that's the beauty of storytelling, right? We go out of ourselves for a while, learn about other people, learn about the way other people can be, considering it's fiction. But it's fiction usually tends to be a reflection of reality. Good fiction, at least, right? So I'd want to reread this to again meet the Watcher and evaluate his actions and his thoughts on, I guess, his own merit. Not necessarily whether or not I would do that. So onto the wider story. We've spoken about the Watcher, the main guy, and feelings toward him. So onto the wider story, the wider world. As I read in the short blurb, it's post-apocalyptic. Something happened. Something biological happened. Changed people, changed animals. Lots of things changed. And, pardon me, it's really the story of survival. And how do you approach surviving in whatever circumstance, right? So we have individuals trying to survive. We have groups of people trying to survive. We have individuals trying to survive as part of a group, and the whole dynamic. So things get complex, not necessarily complicated, but things get complex as we go along. And it's an I find it so far an interesting world to explore, because here we're looking at this has happened, certain things are done away with, and certain people are done away with. How do we rebuild society? Do we want to rebuild society? Are there rules for doing this? Do we necessarily come together and form groups to do this, or do you just go off on your own? Is it better to go off on your own? Right? So that's something that is that is another thing that is looked at throughout the story. As we go along, the Watcher, not the Witcher, the Watcher encounters other survivors. Well, one other survivor who's from a different group, whom, from what I know so far, seems to have been affected in a different way by what happened. So, and then that person's reaction to the Watcher is, well, again, I'd like you to read and see what that person's reaction is. But then you get the idea that there are different groups affected in different ways, and they're each fighting for survival, and in some way fighting for supremacy as well, because hierarchies have formed. So the wider story is, how do you survive? How do you treat others in attempting to survive? Is it better to survive at any cost, or you're human, you may look like crap or whatever, but I would still want to ensure your survival? Or are you even still considered human then? So that topic is explored in the wider story. This being, as I described it, a slow burn so far. The first section, while introducing the world and introducing a few characters, I find doesn't do much more. There are a few action scenes there. But so far I haven't found much more to tell. So more to come as I go through and eventually finish the book and then give a full review. At this point, I think I owe you guys a full review of we're up to 4 books, starting with Flying Sparks. So I think I owe you guys some full reviews coming up. I know I've been missing for a couple of weeks. Life is happening. I have gone back to school. Yes, me in my old age have taken myself back to school. So trying to balance that and balance family, balance doing this. I've kind of thrown things up in the air, and I really want to be consistent with this. So I apologize for the long wait and for the delay. Let's see how consistent I can be. And yeah, thank you for sticking around. Enjoy the rest of your day.